3 decades to champion the conservation of global biodiversity. And they greatly revered each other's friendship. Ed once paid Harrison the highest compliment by naming an ant species after him. It was called Pheidole harrisonfordi. And through this video message written in collaboration with Anthony Dower, Harrison also honors Ed by raising up his greatest hopes for us and the planet.
My humble request for the coming year is that we make time to listen to the quiet. My dear friend, E.O. Wilson, rest his soul, would say that the quiet voices are the most important. The krill and the caterpillars, the beetles and the bacteria, the ants. The systems that sustain life on Earth, that put birds in our skies, water in our rivers, oxygen in our atmosphere, are mind-bogglingly ancient, densely interlocking, and only partially understood tapestries composed of millions of species, all exchanging matter and energy in a glorious whirling ballet which is so beautiful. It can put you on your knees when you start to fit your mind around it. But ecosystems aren't just quiet symphonies to admire. Ecosystems allow us our impossibly rich, dazzlingly beautiful lives. Yet we yank threads out of these magnificent tapestries every day. We unravel our own support systems. Every day they grow quieter, while everything else grows louder. Our lives are but a finger snap in the 3.5 billion year history of life on our planet. Any individual life, mine or yours, is nothing but a wisp of thread in the miles-long rope of life. The most meaningful thing we can do in our time on Earth is to ensure that the rope isn't too frayed for the next generation. Which young person do you love most in the world? Can you picture them? By the time they're your age, don't you want them to be able to wander into a field some evening and hear the smallest things, the ants and the caterpillars, the seeds germinating in the soil? Don't you want them to grow up with the last few mysteries, opening quietly in the darkness? That's what the living earth has to offer us. A whole poetry of mysteries, of possible discoveries, an infinitude of adventures, and ultimately insights that are the cornerstone for a new way of understanding the beautiful intricacy of our planet and how we can best steward its enduring stability. This hopeful curiosity is the core of E.O. Wilson's books, embodied in the work of the E.O. Wilson Biodiversity Foundation, and ultimately brought to life through a deep belief in you and our shared human resolve to save the natural world. Please join me in listening to the voices of biodiversity and taking action to reimagine how we care for our planet.
E.O. Wilson encouraged us to transform our relationship with nature and thereby protect it by knowing everything we could about it. Half Earth Day is a moment when we convene to share knowledge for life, and imagine together what life in harmony with nature could look like. E.O. Wilson conceived of the goal of Half Earth, protecting half the land and the sea, as a way of driving collaborative ambition and innovation to safeguard biodiversity. But before he even began to conceive of Half Earth, Ed was thinking a lot about the need for humanity to have a goal. The reason he tinkered with this idea was born out of a sense that a moonshot goal of human endeavor would challenge and unite us to work together. I remember him laughing one day. He said, "You can say we want less war or we want everybody to be happy, but what kind of goal is that?" He said, "What we really want is grace. What we really want is grace. We want to be surrounded by beauty. We want to be constantly surprised by discoveries. And we want understanding." When you strip our outside obligations to the survivable minimum, when Thoreau went out into the woods, from that vacuum, you're left with just one thing: the wholeness and the richness of the natural world. And if it were sublime, as Thoreau said, to know it by experience. It's through the wholeness and richness of our experiences in nature and the comfort we can inevitably experience through a fuller understanding of nature that we have the opportunity to reimagine how we care for our planet. So I'm very grateful to our sponsors, ADM and the John G. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, and our friends at Nature and Culture and Esri for their generous support in helping us convene this conversation at Half Earth Day this evening. There's a kind of a magical karma, maybe a bit of that elusive grace, that we're here today at Casa Humboldt co-hosting Half Earth Day together with the Humboldt Institute. Thank you. Which was named for Alexander von Humboldt. Humboldt, like E.O. Wilson, was obsessed with empirical observation and detailed field study. They were both enchanted by the grand synthesis of ideas and devoted to the democratization of knowledge. It was through their ability to see the little things that run the world closely and understand connections across species and ecosystems comprehensively that their deep love for the world was revered. As E.O. Wilson said, to know this world is to gain an attachment to it. To know it well is to love and take responsibility for it. Each species, American eagle, Sumatran rhino, flat-spined, three-toothed land snail, furbish lousewort, and on down the roster of 10 million or more species that are still with us, is a masterpiece. To know and have knowledge about the world around us and amongst us is key. Wade Davis, one of our keynote speakers later tonight, in his book, Shadows of the Sun, said that the one lesson he's drawn from his travels is that cultural and biological diversity are far more than the foundation of stability. They're an article of faith. a fundamental truth that indicates the way things are supposed to be. I invite you to pay attention to those relationships this evening, for it's within our awareness of a harmony and solidarity with life that we come to a state of collective well-being with life. It's unified alliances of trust and relationship, a deep knowing that brings us to peace in harmony with nature. This evening at Half Earth Day, I invite you to catch every glimpse you can of that knowledge within us all. For it's through the comfort we'll inevitably experience, through a fuller understanding, that we have the opportunity to achieve grace. Thank you.